EG4 is one of the most trusted brands in the solar space. We think very highly of them, and there's plenty of people on YouTube and the internet that recommend them. But the fact is, not everybody needs to buy EG4 or other premium batteries, especially if you're living off-grids and you don't need UL listings. Welcome back to the lab where our opinions cannot be bought. A few weeks ago over on the Solar Lab Plus, we made a video talking about why cheap batteries are actually more expensive in the long run, and why spending more money up front can actually save you a lot of headaches down the road. And while we stand behind that video, I don't think we did the best job explaining our position. Looking back, it kind of sounded like we were saying that all cheap batteries were bad, but that's really not what we believe. Because the reality is, not everybody needs premium batteries. And that is what brings us back to EG4. EG4 has earned its reputation for a reason. They are one of the most trusted brands in the solar industry, with countless reviews and years of experience proving why. If you're building a backup system for a code-compliant home, those UL listings and certifications matter. And if you're living completely off-grid or building a system for a DIY project, then your opinion and needs might be very different. So instead of asking what is the best battery, I think the better question is, what is the best battery for the way you use solar? Now, to be blunt with you, here at the lab, we are not about recommending bad products. For the purpose of this video, we are only going to recommend batteries that have been tried and tested by ourselves. Not batteries that you need to take apart and repair the cells for them to function properly, or anything that has completely failed our testing. Now, with that being said, if you have a cheap battery that has worked for you with no hiccups, I would love to hear your stories in the comments, because it will help us expand our horizons on what brands that we recommend to you. So the more brands we try and put through all of our rigorous testing is going to help you in the long run. So today we're going to show you the differences between these batteries. We will leave links in the description to a bunch of cheap batteries that we actually recommend, and we're going to show you why, unless you actually need a premium battery like an EG4, that spending all that money, it might not be needed. Now, with all that being said, let's jump straight into the video. Some of the differences between a premium battery like EG4 and some of the cheaper ones on the market is something called UL listings. And if you spent any time shopping for batteries, you've probably heard people throw around terms like UL 9540, UL 1973, and UL 9540A. And honestly, it can get really confusing very quickly. So here's a quick overview of what these listings actually mean. In simple terms, a UL listing is just third-party safety standards. They help verify that a battery has been tested to meet specific requirements, and that it can be legally used in many residential applications. And for some people, those certifications are critical. If you're installing batteries or a backup system in your home, or pulling permits, or just working with an electrician, or dealing with insurance requirements, having those certifications can be the difference between getting approved and getting denied. But here is something that can get overlooked when buying a UL listed battery. A UL listing doesn't magically make a battery better at storing energy. It doesn't automatically give you more cycle life. It doesn't guarantee better performance. And it doesn't necessarily mean that a non-UL battery is unsafe. What it does provide is a level of documentation and testing that a lot of homeowners need. On the other hand, if you're living completely off-grid or installing your system yourself, and local regulations don't require those certifications, you may decide that paying extra for those UL certifications just really isn't necessary and something that you don't need. And that's the theme of this video. Buy the battery that fits your needs, not the one that the internet tells you to buy. Another area where premium batteries often separate themselves from the cheaper ones is communication with the inverter. You'll hear people talk about CAN bus communication, closed-loop systems, and batteries that talk to the inverter. And while those features are really nice to have, I think they become something that people worry about way more than they should. When a battery communicates with the inverter, the two devices share things like the state of charge, charging limits, temperatures, and protection settings. It creates a more automated experience and makes setup so much easier. If you're buying a whole home backup system or simply want the most plug-and-play system available, those features will be absolutely worth paying for. But here's what I think gets lost in the conversation. All of these batteries do have communication ports, and they are programmed to speak with different sets of inverters. The Jacopper has the most options, and the ReXU definitely has the least. But at the end of the day, most budget battery companies don't make inverters. Brands like Jacopper, ReXU, and WattCycle focus on building batteries and not ecosystems. But I think WattCycle made an inverter. So while communication may work with a lot lot of popular inverters, it's not perfect, and sometimes you may need to configure things manually. The biggest difference is companies like EG4 make a whole ecosystem, so everything works together. Your batteries work with your inverters, and everything just works right out of the box. Whereas with these companies, they're only programmed to work with certain inverters. So you have to really do your research on if this certain battery is going to work with the inverter you already have. And it just becomes a lot of guessing and a lot of research. Another thing though, people have been running successful off-grid like whole systems for years without proper communication. In fact, many off-grid systems still to this day rely on manually configured voltage settings. And they work just fine. Personally, I don't think this communication is necessarily a bad thing, because I'd rather see people save thousands of dollars on batteries and spend an extra 10 minutes on getting it set up than feel like they have to buy premium equipment just to make it plug and play. Now, does communication make life easier? 100%. But does it make the battery store more energy? No. Does it suddenly make a non-communicating battery just unusable? No. At the end of the day, communication is a convenience feature. And if you're willing to do a little bit of homework, cheaper batteries can offer a lot better value. In my opinion, I think for a lot of off-grid people and DIYers, using that money you saved and from not buying a premium battery, you can put into getting more batteries, so that means you have more capacity, or buying more solar panels, which will have a much better impact on your system than just having those extra features ever would. And finally, let's talk about the biggest advantage that cheaper batteries have over premium batteries, and it's obviously price. Because at the end of the day, batteries are consumable products. No matter what brand you buy, eventually they're all gonna wear out. And this is honestly where I think a lot of people lose perspective. So let's say, for example, you have a premium battery that costs $1,500, and sitting right next to it is a cheaper battery with the exact same capacity for $800. Even if this cheaper battery failed, which hopefully it doesn't, you could literally replace it with another $800 battery and still have only invested $1,600, which is on par to the premium one. Now, am I saying that premium batteries aren't worth buying? Of course not. But I'm saying that cheap batteries have definitely changed the math. Because years ago, affordable lithium batteries just did not exist. Today, if a battery fails outside of that manufacturer's warranty, you're still going to be able to buy a new one and still come out financially ahead. The lower price also gives you options. Instead of buying just one premium battery, you can buy two cheaper batteries and double your storage. Maybe that money you saved buying budget batteries allows you to buy more solar panels. Or maybe it allows you to build that off-grid system you've been dreaming about instead of waiting another year to save up. And honestly, that is the biggest pro for affordable batteries. No battery is perfect, but budget batteries have made energy independence more available to people who otherwise could never afford it. Because when the sun goes down, your appliances don't care what logo is on your battery, they just care how much power is left. When it comes to cheap batteries that we actually recommend, we have a couple. Jacopher hasn't really been doing anything lately. They've had this battery on the market forever. But it's good, it works well, and it's a solid classic option. ReXU batteries aren't bad. Their support was extremely annoying when we were trying to get a hold of them. But in terms of testing, it did do pretty well. Watt Cycle is one of our favorite batteries on the market, although people have been giving them a lot of hate recently. We think they perform really well, they're a great value, and honestly, they look really cool, they stand out. And the final battery we would actually recommend to you guys is from EcoWorthy. Now, this EcoWorthy did kind of fail our temperature test. It just ran even when it wasn't supposed to, which might not be the worst thing for you depending on where you live, but it is kind of unsafe for the battery. That's just our one biggest drawback. They also did not ship us the handles. Even though everyone just told us we threw the handles out, we didn't get them. We got 2 batteries, 0 handles, which kind of sucks. But overall, it was a pretty decent battery, and they're making a UL listed version called the Cubix 100 Pro, I think. Anyways, we're getting one, and they also make inverters, so stay tuned for those reviews. So are premium batteries worth it? Absolutely. But that does not mean that everybody needs them. The truth is, cheap batteries have never been better. And for a lot of off-grid users, spending more on capacity rather than a bunch of features makes a lot of sense. And at the end of the day, like I said, your appliances don't care what logo is on your battery, they only care how much power it has left. Buy the battery that fits your needs and not the one that the internet tells you to buy. But like we said, we'll leave links in the description to all these batteries that we recommend, as well as any discount codes that we can get to save you guys some money. Otherwise, make sure you guys are subscribed if you're not. Peace out and stay charged.